Rick's Recaps welcome you to a survival thriller film, Horizon Line. It involves two people stranded mid-air on a plane after the pilot succumbs to heart attack. Soon the duo runs out of gas and risks falling down to pour alcohol so as to fly a little longer. They even dispose of the pilot's body to lighten the plane and use rum as fuel, but to no avail. A while later, the plane crashes right into the ocean, where an even more harrowing situation awaits them. Stay with the video as we delve deeper. The movie unfolds with Sarah enjoying her vacation on an island of Mauritius. She is surprised to see her ex-boyfriend there. In the evening, she tries to talk to him at the beach, but Jackson avoids her. A little upset, Jackson leaves the party. However, Sarah wants to walk him home, and a while later, Jackson opens up. Then he takes Sarah to his house, where they both flirt and have fun time. Jackson rediscovers the lost spark, and both get busy for the night. In the morning, Sarah quietly leaves Jackson's house and heads to a nearest airport, where her old friend Freddie would fly her to her destination. A while later, Jackson arrives there, and Sarah is surprised to learn that he will travel with them. Before taking off, Freddie loads a crate of rum. Inside, Sarah tries to talk to Jackson, but he ignores her, given how Sarah quietly left his house in the morning. As it turns out, Sarah used to take pilot lessons from Freddie, so he lets her take the wheel, but warns of not flying above 20,000 feet, which might cause altitude sickness. While Sarah turns off the autopilot, Jackson finds a poorly secured gas cylinder and proceeds to secure it to its place. Suddenly, Sarah screams, realizing Freddie is having a heart attack. Unfortunately, Freddie collapses onto the steering wheel. As the plane dives down, the cylinder comes off and hits the windshield. Jackson struggles to get Freddie off the steering wheel. Luckily, Sarah pulls up the plane in the last moment, saving themselves from a crash. After giving CPR a few times, Jackson realizes it's too late and covers his body with his jacket. Soon they realize the GPS is broken, and even worse, there is no cell signal so as to pinpoint their location. They keep trying to communicate via radio, but nobody responds. In a panic, they decide to turn on the autopilot, which would get them to Rodriguez Island, but realize that major instruments have been damaged by the impact of the cylinder, and they will run out of gas in a moment. Sarah relies on her basic pilot skills and turns the plane 180 degrees after approximately calculating the route using a compass, only to encounter an enormous storm on their way. Right then, they make contact with Samuel, who tells them to change direction or they will run out of fuel. He further tells them to keep flying to west through the storm to find land, but Jackson doesn't feel good about it and asks if they can land the plane on water instead. Suddenly, the communication cuts off due to the storm, leaving them with no other choice but to fly through the storm. The plane shakes amid thunder and lightning, while the instruments start acting up. Scared, Sarah tries to lift the plane above the clouds. She is relieved to see clear skies, but the next moment, Freddie's warning comes true. Sarah suffers altitude sickness, causing the plane to crash. Jackson manages to get her back to her senses. Sarah struggles to control the plane, but eventually levels it out. The compass gets damaged during the fall, so Jackson creates a makeshift compass by leaving a needle in alcohol. Following it, Sarah turns west and eventually they manage to make it out of the storm. Unfortunately, their relief lasts for a brief moment. Sarah notices one of the tanks is almost empty. As she switches to another tank, it leaks fuel rapidly. Jackson assumes potential damage due to thunderstorm and prepares to climb out in order to repair it. However, Sarah keeps pleading him to give up the idea, but without fuel, they have no chance of survival. Jackson secures himself with a rope. As the girl slows down, Jackson carefully attempts to reach the engine compartment and repairs the damage. On his return, he falls off, but luckily grabs the rung and ends up injuring his hand. Sarah secures the wheel and rushes to help him. Seeing his safety rope stuck in the landing wheel, Sarah quickly cuts it and pulls him inside. Immediately treating the injury with alcohol, Sarah diverts his attention and straightens his arm. Back at the cockpit, they notice 5% fuel left in the tank. Sarah suggests dropping all the extra weights to save fuel, starting with luggage and seats, but they fall right next to boat below. But that's not enough. They look at Freddie's body for a moment. Sarah slips Freddie's family photo in his pocket and drops him. Jackson devises a crazy plan to use rum as fuel as Sarah is about to dispose of the crate. So Sarah decides to refuel the tanks. She carefully climbs onto the roof of the plane and opens the tank. Jackson passes the bottles of rum. Once done, she narrowly avoids falling down on her return. Jackson mentions an island he just spotted. Sarah immediately turns the plane around, but can't locate the island anymore. Soon their fuel supply runs out and the engine freezes. As the plane glides down, the duo loses hope and expresses their apologies. Right then, Jackson spots an island. Sarah quickly turns the plane and begins gliding towards it. Jackson frantically informs the dispatcher to report emergency landing. Despite Sarah's best efforts to handle it at a low altitude, the plane crashes into the water and flips over. Water pours in while they remain still trapped. Sarah manages to get out of there and swims up, but doesn't find Jackson around her. So she dives back and finds Jackson unconscious and stuck in the wing of the plane. She put a life jacket around his neck moments before the plane goes to the bottom of the ocean. They both surface and Sarah drags the man's body to shore. She performs CPR and Jackson coughs up seawater, regaining consciousness. Exhausted, they collapse on the sand and briefly fall asleep. When they wake, they discover the land nearly submerged, leaving Sarah panicked as their chances of survival vanish. She frantically searches for rescue, but only the endless sea surrounds them. The ground beneath their feet starts to give way. Sarah, in tears, accepts that her life is ending here. Exhausted, Jackson knows he won't survive and offers her his life jacket. Sarah refuses, declaring they are a team and will face the end together. Jackson's wound reopens, drawing the attention of nearby sharks. Sensing the end, the pair confess their love. Just then, a small fishing boat appears, responding to their rescue signals. Summoning her last strength, Sarah drags Jackson to the boat. They climb aboard just in time, escaping the sharks. The couple, now safe, vow never to part again and share a heartfelt kiss. Thanks for watching.